Evening, everybody. How you doing?
We're good.
Pursuant to the Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law of 1975, this meeting was noticed, sent to the Asbury Park Press on July 26, 2023, and has been duly advertised in the Asbury Park Press, issue of July 31st, 2023. All municipal clerks of the townships and the boroughs within the regional high school district has been duly notified, and the requirements for the posting were met on July 26, 2023. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Mr. Toscano, any changes to the executive agenda?
Yes, Mr. President. In addition to the items that were on the agenda that was pre-printed prior to the start of this evening, the following items were also added. In exception number 7, the board discussed the matter under docket number BPVC-118652. Board also discussed the matter under docket number MON-L-2968. Board also discussed the matter under docket number E 2021-003456 and the matter under docket number P 2023-00447. Again, those are all under exception number 7 on the board's agenda. In addition to those, for exception number 3, the board discussed an HIB appeal and the HIB report.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 13th, 2023?
Second.
Mrs. Higley, Mrs. Lavin. Any board discussion? Not hearing discussion, roll call, please.
Mrs. Bruno?
Yes.
Mrs. Cappiello?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli? Present. Mrs. Higley?
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin?
Yes.
Ms. McCobb?
Yes.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes. Just a reminder, communications are on file in the office of the board secretary. Now we're ready for Dr. Sampson's report.
Thank you, Mr. Bruno. Guess we're really sharing this evening, huh? So, Mr. Boyce and I, like we do every year, conducted our district walkthrough last week. We did it a bit earlier. So this board meeting on August 24th is a little bit on the early side compared to when we usually do our August board meeting. So that prompted us. I wanted to be able to just report out on the status of the district work across the summer. And so every year, toward the end of August, Mr. Boyce, myself, and Mr. LaGravenis, our Director of Buildings and Grounds, walk, all 6 high schools and check the progress of all of our summer work, because obviously over the summer is when we were able to get a lot of that work done. Everything that we're doing with the roofing and the paving across the summer is on time, on budget, ready to roll. We were incredibly impressed, like we are every single year. So, kudos to you, Mr. LaGravenis, and to the folks in the B&G department. They really worked their tails off over the summer months, and we had some changes this year. Usually a lot of our summer programs are at Colts Neck High School, and this year they were at Marlboro, and our ESY went from Colts Neck to Manalapan, and so we had a lot of buildings that aren't necessarily used to housing the summer programs have to adapt and be flexible to house those programs, and everyone did just a phenomenal job. I mean, our summer programs went off without a hitch, and that's a testament to the faculty and staff that both run those programs, and in particular, as well as our buildings and grounds crew that keep everything humming, because all that summer work when we have hundreds of students in the building still has to get done, and so you have to really have a tight schedule in order to do that. So, obviously the tail end of the referendum that was passed a couple years back now is really the work of the roofing and paving work is the primary physical work that's occurring, but there are a lot of little projects across the 6 high schools that have just done in an exceptional way. You know, we would be ready to open school tomorrow if we had to. So I feel very confident about that, and just happy to. It's always the walkthrough in August is always an opportunity to thank a lot of folks for a lot of hard work over the course of the summer months. So I'm always happy to do that. So thank you. We're gonna get into our annual assessment report in a moment with Mr. Henniker. I just did want to note, you know, and express our condolences. Mr. Ron Lawson passed a couple weeks ago, and for those, you know, so when I was hired in 2011, Mr. Lawson was the president of the Board of Ed at that point in time. Was battling an illness, but just wanted to express our condolences to the Lawson family. Ron was a longtime board member on the Freehold Regional High School District, as well as on the Howell K-8, and so a big piece of the community. So just wanted to make sure that the community was aware that Mr. Lawson had passed away. Mr. Henniker, we'll call you up for the annual assessment report for the 22-23 school year.
You can all hear me? Okay. All right, let's get started. This is a couple of overview slides for us. So New Jersey mandates that all 11th graders take the state graduation proficiency assessment, which is called the NJGPA. This evaluation measures students' readiness to graduate, focusing on English language arts and mathematics. The results are reported individually for each subject. The English component aligns with 10th grade standards, while the mathematics component aligns with the Algebra 1 and geometry standards. In May 2023, the New Jersey State Board of Education established the minimum passing scores for the English and math components of the NJGPA. So both ELA and math are set at 725. So the scale ranges from 650 to 850, 725 being considered proficient. If students fail to meet the required scores, they have several options to demonstrate proficiency. They can retake the relevant parts of the NJGPA. So students have opportunities to take it in the spring initially, another opportunity in the summer, should they choose to come in and pass, and then a third opportunity in October. They can also pass other tests that would be qualified under state statute. These include SAT, PSAT, and AccuPlacing. A third option for students then would be a portfolio review. So performance overview. So we have outperformed the state averages in both English language arts and mathematics readiness for graduation on the New Jersey Graduation Proficiency Assessment. In terms of ELA readiness, our district has shown a remarkable level of proficiency with a graduation readiness rate of 89.8%. This result is significantly higher than the state average, which stands at 80.5. This indicates that our students are exceeding the 10th grade standards in English. Our district's performance in mathematics readiness also surpasses the state average. Our district showed a readiness rate of 67.8 compared to the state average of 55%. That suggests that our students are performing well in Algebra 1 and geometry, the standards the NJGPA mathematics align with. This is the subgroup performance overview. This slide illustrates the performance across various student subgroups on the NJGPA. English language arts scores for all students are significantly above the state average, as I mentioned. However, we acknowledge that there are differences among our subgroups. English learners stand at 12.2%, economically disadvantaged students scored at 70.9%, and students with disability showed a commendable 61.5%. Turning to mathematics, We again outperform the state average, yet similar disparities among subgroups persist, underscoring the need for further intervention. English learners scored 13.1%, economically disadvantaged students stood at 42.3%, and students with disabilities at 25.5%. These results highlight the necessity for targeted support and resources for our English learners, economically disadvantaged students, and students with disabilities. We will continue to refine our strategies, continue individualized student support, and work continuously towards bridging these proficiency gaps. Specifically, we'll be using ESEA Title I funds to hire additional teachers and paraprofessionals to provide additional support and intervention. There will be an additional slide later that will go into more detail about the intervention we have in place. As an overview of the Access for ELS testing. The WIDA Consortium introduced the Access for ELS assessment in 2016. Access 2.0 plays an important role in our school accountability system, specifically contributing to the English language proficiency level indicator. To ensure our students are truly proficient, we look for an Access proficiency level of 4.5 or above before considering exiting a student from the EL program. The overall score isn't just an average, it's a weighted combination of scores from reading, writing, listening, and speaking segments. Specifically, reading and writing carry the most weight at 35% each, while listening and speaking are valued at 15% each. These are the achievement levels on the Access test. There are a total of 6 proficiency levels. The 6 levels of proficiency provide a roadmap of a student's journey from entering the program to achieving the highest proficiency. Typically, a student scoring at a 4.5 level are eligible to exit. This is the overall performance of all of our students who tested on the Access assessment in the spring. So starting with the entering proficiency level, we have 84 students. This represents those students who are just beginning the journey in the English language learning. At the emerging level, which indicates a growing comfort with social and some academic language, we have 63 students. Developing is the midpoint on this scale. Here, 60 of our students showed they're capable of social English and are starting to understand specific academic terms. As we move to the expanding level, we see a drop in numbers with 24 students. These students have a better grasp on technical academic language. 2 students reached the bridging level, which implies they can effectively work with grade level material in both social and academic language context. These students exited the L program. Unfortunately, none of our students achieved the reaching level this year. This is the pinnacle of proficiency on this test, and it's an area we should focus on in our efforts to increase every student's language skills. But again, keep in mind that we exit students at 4.5. You're not typically going to get a whole bunch of students at 6, because that would mean they would jump from, say, a 4 to a 6, which is an unusual. Yes.
So the 63 students that are emerging, are they in the same building?
Yeah, so typically we house all of our L
You're
students.
a cul-de-sac?
Correct.
Okay.
This slide is a breakdown by grade level. In grade 9, so I'm going to provide some additional context, what's not up on the slide, is I'm going to provide some counts of students when they start the program to give context to what you're looking at. So in grade 9, the bulk of our students are newcomers to the English language program, with 38 students having joined in 2022 and 21 students having started in the 22-23 school year. So a lot of these students are brand new to this program, only having services for 1 or 2 years. Out of these, 21 students are at the entering level. Additionally, 20 students are at the emerging level, while 13 have reached the developing stage, and 6 are at the expanding level. With such a high number of newcomers, it's critical to ensure foundational support while fostering growth of those showing early signs of proficiency. In grade 10, 21 students began their English language journey in 2021, with another 24 joining in 2022 and 14 in 2023. In terms of proficiency, 17 students are at their entering level and 20 at the emerging level. This suggests that many sophomores, even those who started a couple of years ago, are still developing foundational English skills. However, the progression is evident with 16 students at the developing stage, 5 at the expanding level, and 1 student at the bridging level. This highlights the importance of continuous support and targeted interventions, especially for those who've been in the program longer. For grade 11, 9 students began in 2021, 29 in 2022, and a smaller group of 3 in 2023. The proficiency levels indicate the majority, especially those who began in 2021 and 2022, are moving ahead, but there's room for improvement. With 23 students at the entering level and 10 at the emerging level, foundational skills still need strengthening. However, 16 students at the developing level and 7 at the expanding stage, coupled with 1 student at the bridging level, indicate the sustained efforts can lead to substantial progress. Grade 12 has 25 students who began their English proficiency journey in 2019. Additionally, 2 started in 2020, 18 in 2021, and 10 in 2022. There are 23 students at the entering level, 10 of which have been in the program for only a year. The emerging and developing levels have 13 and 15 students respectively, with 6 students performing at the expanding level. The data underscores the importance of longitudinal support and interventions tailored to students' unique needs. So this is a little bit about our interventions. In line with our mission to ensure every student achieves their utmost potential, we've initiated a comprehensive array of interventions tailored to promote success across all assessments. Central to our strategy is the alignment of both formative and summative assessments. This approach not only tracks the overall progress of each student, but also pinpoints individual strengths and areas in need of improvement. Our commitment to student growth is further illustrated by our targeted interventions. These interventions are crafted for each student, addressing their areas of needs. Our dedication extends beyond a traditional classroom setting. With the implementation of before and after school tutoring sessions, we offer extended opportunities for learning and growth. The Title I Jumpstart program has been in place for 8 years, while the Title III Jumpstart program has just completed its 2nd year. This summer initiative is intended to provide support in upcoming coursework, providing students with opportunities for academic enrichment, particularly focusing on their ELA and math courses. And finally, this is the upcoming assessment schedule for the 2023-2024 school year. For further details about each of these assessments, their contents, and additional resources for preparation, please visit our district web page, which is regularly updated with this information. You may access it via the link provided on the slide, but as well, by staying informed of the testing schedule and making use of the resource available, we can support our students in demonstrating their knowledge and skills. And that concludes my presentation. Yes, sir.
How do you judge the intervention, like in the summer programs that we put the students in? Do we test them in the fall prior to the test in April?
No. Part of it is, honestly, satisfaction services, right? So students in summer programs typically go for the team. So with the Jumpstart program in particular, which provides wonderful opportunities for the students to get a jumpstart on their education for the upcoming year, we had consistent enrollment on a daily basis. So over 80 students on average attended every day. So, some prior districts, we would see drop off towards the end of the programs, and some of the more on, you would see a declining enrollment. But what was great about this program is the students were obviously engaged because the attendance showed consistency across. But certainly, it would be easy enough to, track their grades over time. I anticipate now that we've had 2 years of Jumpstart for the Title III students, that our proficiency levels on the Axis will indeed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Did any of the 24 students who attained the level 4 hit the 4.5 to exit, or just the 2 that had hit level 5?
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't have that exact number on hand, but yes, as soon as they reach 4.5, we look at where they scored, and depending if, so it's a comprehensive score at 4.5, we can exit them, but we also want to make sure that their reading and writing skill is also at that 4.5 level or above. So you can score high, for example, on listening, but that may not be something that we're comfortable exiting the student. So we do look at other factors besides just a straight 4.5. Yes.
Is the minimum score you need a 725? Is that different than saying you're graduation ready? Because the stats were 89.8% and 67.8, but obviously, essentially, everyone graduates. So I don't get what graduation ready is versus the 725.
Yes, so some would argue it's arbitrary. Originally, the NJGPA cut score for being considered graduation ready on an assessment was 750. There were a lot of issues with that, and that's part of the reason why they made that first year of the NJGPA a pilot test. They realized that having that kind of score was going to be detrimental for the students. Keep in mind, New Jersey is one of the few remaining states that has a graduation assessment requirement. Most states are getting rid of it. It's additional testing that may not be necessary, especially when we are offering additional pathways. So we do have a lot of students that they don't meet it through an NJGPA, and we get it through the SAT, or even an academic test. But as far as so that proficiency rate means that 89.8%, for example, in ELA, earned either 70-25 or above.
But the original battle at the State Board of Ed was whether it was 750 or 725. No one could answer the question publicly what the difference was between a 750 and a 725. Was it 2 questions? Was it 3 questions? It was piloted for 1 year. I don't believe the test has been normed the way that it should be. It's a new test. So this is all sort of ground floor data for us in terms of how well students are or are not performing. Obviously, the statewide numbers are very low, and so the argument has been made that there's significant learning loss. The students have struggled post-COVID, and certainly all of that is true. However, there's been no sort of definitive answers on what these scores actually translate to on the test. So I get a 7. What's the difference between a 747 and a 724? No one has yet answered that question at the state level, and that's part of the issue of what we're grappling with. And so Mr. Henniker mentioned students have other pathways. The difficulty we face in high school, by the time a student takes the NJGPA in their junior year, which they're mandated to, they may have passed, they may have met graduation requirements through the SAT, through the PSAT. There are other tests they're taking that also allow them to access graduation and to meet that requirement. That convolutes some of the data that we get, obviously. So and Mr. Bruno jokingly said, what happened to the HESPA? The world was a lot simpler with the HESPA, right? And we never thought we would say that at the time, right? But in the post-HESPA testing world of New Jersey, from PARC to NJGPA, it has frankly been a disaster, right? And so we don't have any longitudinal data around the NJGPA to really get our fingers into to understand why kids are or are not performing well. That's part of the difficulty in all this.
So really, this is really what I'm considering our baseline, because the prior year there were different cut scores. What we just finished as a leadership team was a review of all of the seniors who didn't meet a pathway or didn't meet the 725 cut score. All of our seniors during the fall will have an opportunity to retake the New Jersey GPA as well as take the PSAT here in our district. As you know, the PSAT will be administered to grade 9, 10, 11, but we're also going to administer the PSAT to any student who did not meet the 725. With that, we're really, focused on providing as much support to these students prior to them engaging in either of these 2 assessments. But the building principals, Mr. Henniker, did an excellent job of identifying every student. We are making sure that they're getting the support so that they are in the best position to be able to, meet that test with success. So we're really excited about that, and we want to give every student that opportunity. Individual phone calls are going out to the parents to be able to explain about this opportunity for the additional test and what supports are in place leading up to that test. So we will be tracking and monitoring the data, even for our seniors. So we look at the percentages now. We are, assured that we are going to see progress even with our seniors who are taking it this year. We had a number of students who took the opportunity that Mr. Henniker offered to take the test over the summer, the New Jersey GPA. Those results will be coming in. So each time we get a test in, we can chip away, and that helps kind of narrow down the students, that we're going to identify for an intervention plan. Also now having 3 Title I schools in the district, we are kind of leveraging those funds to stay focused on math instruction and math support. And Dr. Sharp's office, supporting us in trying to find math teachers, high-quality math teachers to be able to come in and support us. So we're excited for that beginning stage of the work around, really taking a deep dive into these math scores, because this is really year 1.
You could definitely see it on the chart, the math scores versus the English scores. Yeah. Is that
Statewide, too.
Is that
And it's this is
is that
across the
because
state.
of the development, the bridge kids,
No.
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 It's because they're testing things on a mathematics test that an inordinate number of the high school students aren't necessarily accessing. And so they're being tested on content that they haven't been exposed to in some cases, and in other cases, schools haven't been able to retrofit some of the things that they could do around struggling areas in this test because it's new. And so you take those 2 factors and throw them together, and you get a very low score across the state.
that's why we emphasize math.
The state determines so let's say you took the PSAT, the state
Determines the cut score.
what the cut score is?
Yes.
Is it always the same?
I think the PSAT has stayed, there's an SAT cut score, PSAT, I think that has stayed the same, but the
They've been
New
the
Jersey
same since Park, I
GPA
believe.
has changed, it was lowered.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks, Bruce.
I don't recall being subjected to this much testing. I know times have changed. If you had to estimate how many days of curriculum are teachers losing by having to prepare and give these assessments and testing to their students?
The state testing?
Yeah.
Fortunately, not too much.
Okay.
The NJGPA is a state requirement, whereas the NJSLA is a federal requirement. So New Jersey fortunately got smart and moved away from the park model where everybody's going to test multiple times a year and there would be long tests, multiple days. So now they've shortened the tests so that the impact on the classroom is minimal. Even better, instead of testing every kid freshman, sophomore, junior year for the park, they now do it where it's only freshmen testing ELA, only Algebra 1 students typically, unless they took it in middle school, then they take the math course they're sitting in, and then only juniors do science. So they spread the pain throughout the grade levels, and unfortunately, it's the juniors that actually wind up getting hit a lot. Because they'll have the NJGPA, they'll have the NJSLA for science, and then a lot of students are gearing up for college, so they're taking SATs,
And then their own
ACTs,
absence.
but a lot of those other tests are by choice on the student's part. Even though it feels like for them, it's not a choice, they have to take the SAT, a lot of students do. But yeah, in terms of the state regimen, it really isn't impacting the classroom too much. I mean, it would be great if we get rid of, a superfluous test like NJGPA, but in general, until the federal law changes, that we're going to still have some kind of accountability.
Mr. Parisi, once upon a time when they first implemented Park, it was before your time on the board, but one of the things that we did do here was track the soft cost to it. And so we sort of tracked how much time, Ms. Higley's nodding, smiling, remembering, we tracked how much time our admins were spent in the setup, the implementation, and it was a disaster for the state. Park was frankly an unmitigated disaster. We've gotten off of that to some degree, but even with between the NJGPA and the testing for grade levels at the NJSLA, we do carve deep cuts into instructional time. We have to have delayed openings, modified schedules, expand that over several days. And so when you look at that scope over the course of the year, one could make the argument that you're losing a lot of potential instructional time to some of these testing requirements, and that's the rub.
That was precisely what I was getting
Yeah.
at. Is that, like, do teachers have to condense their curriculum to kind of work around, this additional testing?
Yes and no. I mean, it's not optimum the time, but it's, it certainly cuts into the time of the year. But if you, sometimes when you look at the actual school year and you dissect up the various days that are spent on certain things, testing being a piece of that, other items, you chip away at that 180 days very quickly. And so that's one of the, sort of preserving instructional time as much as possible in how we test our students. Unfortunately for us, we're under significant busing constraints, right? As a 6 high school district, and what that looks like with our bus runs, and so we don't have the luxury sometimes to do to bus some students in and do it. We have to do things we don't always want to do in order to get all of the testing done in as quickly a manner as possible as we do.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? We're good? Okay. Mr. Boyce, any changes to the agenda?
Wait.
Oh.
Board reports, Mr. President.
Oh, we do have policy tonight. Mrs. Capiello, I apologize, we have
It's okay.
policy tonight.
So the policy committee met on Monday, July 10th, and what I'm going to tell you about tonight is some additional policy and regulation that's on this agenda for one read for tonight in preparation for the opening of the school year. We already discussed at last month's meeting the policies that were discussed on July 10th. So the school threat assessment team's policy and regulation guides have been developed for the purpose of providing schools with assistance in identifying students of concern, assessing those students' risks for engaging in violence or other harmful activities, and delivering intervention strategies to manage the risk of harm for students who pose a potential safety risk, prevent targeted violence in the school, and ensure a safe and secure school environment that enhances the learning experience for all members of the school community. The new regulation provides a step-by-step process for a district to follow when developing their school threat assessment program. And the state has, it's mandated, the state's come forth with additional information that has allowed us now to narrow this down and make things conform. And we need this as of the first day of school, so that's why it's on for a one read. The sick leave policy was created to align with the new statutory provisions that were signed into law on July 3rd, 2023, and expand the scope of permissible use of sick leave for school district employees. At the same time, those new statutory provisions also set forth provisions allowing for a board to require certification, reasonable documentation, advance notice as appropriate in connection with request for the use of sick leave. So again, law signed July 3rd, 2023, we need to be aligned with what's mandatory, so that is also why the sick leave policy is on for the one read. And that's that.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Now I go to you. Mr. Boyce, are there any changes to the agenda you would wish to note?
Yeah, so several changes to the published agenda. On the back table, you'll find an addendum to tonight's agenda, and on that addendum, there are modifications to existing resolutions in G4, which is approval and appointments, G6, approval of lunch duty proctor appointments, G17, approval of substitute home instruction personnel, along with the addition of a new resolution, G18, approval of appointment to the chief academic officer. Also, you may have noticed that there was a placeholder on the agenda. It was H6. And on the back table is the body of that resolution. I will read that into the record now. The resolution's titled Appropriation of Unbudgeted State Aid into the 23-24 Annual School Budget pursuant to New Jersey Administrative Code 6A 23A 13.3D1. Whereas, as a result of decreased state funding under the School Funding Reform Act for the Freehold Regional High School District for the 23-24 school year, the board was forced to make certain reductions to its programs, personnel, operations, and services, including but not limited to courtesy busing for students in the district starting with the 2023-24 school year. Whereas legislation primarily sponsored by Senators Gopal and O'Scanlan and Assembly Speaker Coughlin, specifically bills numbers A 5575 and S 3950, have been approved by both the State Senate and State Assembly and signed into law by Governor Murphy on August 16, 2023. Restore state funding decreased under the School Funding Reform Act for the 23-24 and 24-25 school years, and therefore allows the board to again provide courtesy busing for students in the district. Whereas in accordance with New Jersey Administrative Code 6A 23A 13.3, a Board of Education may at any time appropriate unbudgeted state aid into the current year annual school budget. Now therefore be it resolved that as a result and through implementation of PL 2023 Chapter 140, the Freehold Regional High School District Board of Education hereby appropriates unbudgeted state aid in the amount of $3,500,000 into its annual school budget for the 2023-2024 school year for the purpose of providing courtesy busing during the 23-24 school year. So that's good news that we received last week with the governor signing the bill that relieves districts meeting certain criteria from the final 2 years of S2 cuts, which is 23-24 and next year 24-25. So that puts in place the funding to award contracts, which also happens later in this agenda, so that courtesy busing will be in play day one of the school year. In addition to those items, there are 3 new resolutions I'd also like to add, not included on the addendum. The first is I-7, be it resolved that the Freehold Regional High School District Board of Education approves the settlement in BPVC-1186652-00. K5, be it resolved that the Freehold Regional High School District Board of Education approves the settlement agreement in docket number MON-L-2968. And K6, resolved by the board to deny the appeal heard in executive session and uphold the findings in connection with FT 22-23-33. And I believe, Mr. President, that is all that I have for the agenda.
Thank you. You could add a couple more if you want. Only kidding. We do have a speaker tonight, the mayor of Manalapan, Sue Cullen. Hi, Sue. How you doing? Yeah.
I'm going to be quick. Basically, I wanted to thank you, Dr. Sampson, for your tireless effort in getting the funding for the busing, and Mr. Boyce and anybody that worked behind the scenes that I don't know. On behalf of the governing body of Manalapan and also all our residents, we thank you so much for all that you've done to get this, and also, of course, Senators Gopal and O'Scanlan. But thank you very much.
I think folks should also know, Mayor Cohen, that when we first went down to Trenton, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, it was Manalapan's municipal body that went with me in that very first conversation and has always stood right by us and all of that. So thank you.
Thank you for your continuous support, Mayor, and your council. Okay. I have a motion to approve G1.
Motion?
Ms. Cobb, we got her.
Second.
Any discussion, board? Not hearing any discussion?
Mr. Bruno, I'd like to say something. I mean, I think as a board, we would be remiss to not acknowledge.
Mark, we
the-
have comments that we're going to make.
Oh, you do
Yeah,
have-
yeah.
you have
Let's do the
prepared
vote.
comments?
Let's do the,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. We have it, yeah. Let's just wait.
Okay, all right.
Let's approve it.
Mrs. Bruno?
Yes.
Mrs. Capiello?
I abstain, but I just want to make it clear that I abstain only because of legal conflicts and not because I'm not in support of this.
Mrs. Higley?
I abstain also and ditto the exact same thing.
Mrs. Lavin?
Of course, yes.
Ms. McCobb?
Yes.
Mr. Parisi?
Yes.
Mr. Messinger?
Yes.
Mr. Bruno?
Yes.
Motion carries.
So, when I met with Dr. Sampson after Memorial Day, I was called up to the office, which is very unusual, and we sat down, and he told me he would be leaving. And, you know, we did discuss what we do next, moving forward, and we didn't have to look too far, because for 8 years I've been on the board, and we've had a very experienced woman, Chief Academic Officer, Dr. Hazel, with us, and she's been with us for 15 years. And if you don't know the job of Chief Academic Officer, very detailed, very involved, involved in almost everything. And she's been in education for 30 years. She served in many roles. In fact, when I was here, she was assistant superintendent. And the last 11, probably be 12 in November, she will be 12 years as chief academic officer. So her and Dr. Sampson have been involved with 3 strategic plannings, and she is our logical successor to Dr. Sampson. The board had discussion about opening it up to do a search, but we're blessed. We have a bench at the Freehold Regional High School District. I'm quoting Mr. Scano here, because I called him up and I was like, well, I'm nervous, we're going to do a search. We got a bench in this district, which is great. And anyone who has been involved with strategic planning, the organization of that, her team has already started working on middle states, which probably makes every principal shudder, because I remember those days of middle states. But we're very blessed to have her. She has high expectations for the district, and her knowledge and expertise is just amazing. Some of the things from our interview, we had an hour-and-a-half interview with her on July 13th. Yeah, it was, some of the board members, they grilled her, a lot of great questions. I thought it would last 20 minutes, it lasted an hour and a half. Some of the comments that came from that meeting with Dr. Hazel on July 13th, dynamic, skilled, a team builder, knowledge of school law, knowledge of school policy, and experience with recruiting and evaluating. These are the things we need in a new superintendent. So congratulations, Dr. Hazel.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're all looking forward to working with you. We're going to miss this guy too.
I know.
Liz, you have something to give her?
I already did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Thank you so much.
Anybody else like to make a comment?
Mr. Bruno, you pretty much covered what I wanted to say, but, you know, I thought it was important for the public that doesn't know much about Dr. Hazel's background, you know, in this really well put together resume that she provided us. I just think it's important that the public knows that, like you said, that she has spent most of her adult life, I think, in education, having started your educational career in 1993 as a math teacher at Ferris High School in Jersey City. My family's from Jersey City. Then you worked as a special education department coordinator. You were a high school vice principal. You were a high school principal, an administrative supervisor of curriculum and instruction here at Freehold Regional, an interim principal at Marlboro High School, an assistant superintendent of student services here with us, and chief academic officer. And it just appears that based upon your experience that it's a natural fit for you to become the leader of this district probably for the remainder of your educational career, I would imagine.
Yes,
And I'm just really happy that you're here with us.
thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you. No, I just want to thank, Mr. Bruno, the entire board, the greater community for the opportunity to lead this, exemplary district, Freehold Regional High School District, in the capacity of superintendent of schools. Through this transition period, I do need to take a moment to recognize and thank Dr. Sampson for his leadership, for his mentorship, for his support through our 12 years of working together. He has always served with a high level of dedication to the core mission of this district. We all know him, as a strong leader and a pioneer in public education. He always pushes and encourages his team and expects excellence in serving this district. I also share in that commitment, but I would be remiss if I did not recognize, my mentor here, who has really well-positioned me to take the reins of the Freehold Regional High School District. What he has done in this district and his level of advocacy and support for the administrators and for the students and this community, you will never find, you'll see it in me, but you will never find in anyone else, and he has trained me really, really well. And I just want to thank Dr. Sampson, for, everything you have done for me, during the years, and you have taught me well. And I always say, and even for my years in the Jersey City Public Schools, I don't forget my mentors. And after this meeting, I'm also going to be sharing with my Jersey City Public School colleagues, because I know, how much they have done for me to groom me as a leader and as a person to be able to take on positions like this. So I also want to extend a thank you to, my former district as well. Every level of this organization is dedicated to the students and to the work. And I always say that, and my team knows it, to the work, to the work, to the work, because that is what is going to best support our students. I'm excited as your next superintendent to partner with all of our teams and our communities to continue to grow upon our successes and lead the work to provide the best educational experience for our students. I am ready, I am proud, and excited to work with this Board of Education and all the principals and all of the staff and teachers in this district for our students. Also tonight, for approval on this board agenda, in the personnel section is a resolution to accept Dr. Shana Howell as our next Chief Academic Officer. Dr. Howell started in this district. Her roots are in this district. She's been here for 21 years as a teacher, as a supervisor, as an assistant principal, and has served in 2 roles as a director of guidance and operations, and as director of curriculum and instruction. She's been in that role for 7 years, and she takes tremendous pride in really supporting the teaching and learning in the Freehold Regional High School District. She also has supported the leadership of our strategic plans. Through her work and through an extensive interview process, she continues to demonstrate the knowledge and expertise that I know will position her well for success. And it gives us time to be able to work together in preparation for our new roles in the district. We've got a dynamic team. We are all ready for the challenges that lie, ahead for us. We're committed to the work, our strategic plan. We're actually excited to engage in Middle States. It gives us an opportunity to be able to solicit feedback directly from our staff, from our students, from our parents, and our community. So I'm excited for that as the new superintendent in the district, that I'm going to have that as an opportunity and a platform to work from. So once again, thank you to this Board of Education. I really thoroughly appreciated the interview and the questions, during that process. One, it gave me an opportunity to be able to express my vision for the district, but it also gave you an opportunity to share what's important to you as a board member and as a community, and what the expectations you have around the leadership of this district. So I appreciated, having that time, with you. So I am excited, can't wait to partner, with this Freehold Regional team, and I'm looking forward to the work and leading this exemplary school district, the Freehold Regional High School District.
Thank you. I want to thank the board also for this summer, a little bit of the stressful summer with all the things that are going on, but a lot of emails, a lot of texting. Mr. Scano, I think I spoke to you more this summer than I did in 8 years. So you were great through the whole process. I kept saying to him, you're going to get it done by the next board meeting. I'd like to start the school year off with the new superintendent, the chief academic officer. It's always no problem. So, so thank you for that. And maybe we'll take a little rest and emails the next few weeks. I don't have a phone. So I don't have a cell phone. Don't call me. I have no cell phone. So.
When you get your
Another
phone back,
story.
it's going to have a litany.
Another couple of days. Okay. Where am I? Okay, G2. Okay, may I have a motion to take G2 through G18?
Moved.
Second.
Mrs. Capiello and Mrs. Lavin?
Second.
Any discussion, board? Not hearing any discussion, roll call?
Mrs. Bruno,
Yes.
Mrs. Capiello,
Yes.
Mrs. Higley,
Yes.
Mrs. Lavin,
Yes.
Mrs. McCobb,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi,
Yes.
Mr. Messinger,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes. Programs, operations, buildings, transportation, and physical plant. May I have a motion to approve items H1 through I7?
Motion. Second.
Okay.
I heard Mrs. Lavin.
Mrs. Lavin, and I heard Mrs. Bruno.
Okay. Any discussion? Any discussion?
Regarding H6?
Yeah.
Again, I just want to thank our legislative representatives that cover this large district. We spoke, I made a comment at a previous meeting in which I really implored our legislative representatives to come together and provide this district with relief, and they came through. And the governor signed the bill, and I just think it's important that we as a community recognize that when our representatives are willing to cross the aisle and work together to help a community, a district, things can get done, and just encourage our representatives to be willing to cross the aisle and work together for the betterment of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Roll call.
Mrs. Bruno,
Yes.
Mrs. Capiello,
Yes.
Mrs. Higley,
This is J through,
This is H1 through H7.
through I-7.
I7.
okay.
Programs, operations.
Okay. Yes.
Mrs. Lavin,
Yes.
Ms. McCobb,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi,
Yes.
Mr. Messinger,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes.
Motion's carried.
Educational programs and administration. May I have a motion to approve items JI through J1 through J to K6? We changed it to K6?
Yes,
Moved.
Second.
This is the top. Any discussion? Not hearing any discussion? May I have a motion?
Mrs. Bruno,
Yes.
Mrs. Capiello,
Yes on everything, but in J3, I abstain from Mr. Groverman and Mr. Churn, and in K1, I abstain from Dr. Hazel.
Mrs. Higley,
Yes, except on J3, I abstain on Mr. Braverman and Mr. Stern, Dr. Celso and Ms. Reckenwald, J8 for Carol Krajewski, J10 for Carol Krajewski, and K1 for Dr. Hazel.
Mrs. Lavin,
Yes.
Ms. McCobb, Ms. McCobb,
Yes.
Mr. Parisi,
Yes.
Mr. Messinger,
Yes.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes. Okay, do we have any old business we'd like to discuss? Board, any old business? Not hearing any old business. Any, well, I have a couple of things for new business. So I want to thank the folks at Howell High School for opening up their facility last night for the 5K. Raised over $12,000 at the Crisis Center. 250 runners up and down Southern Road. Great night. Mrs. Lavin was there to help me give out awards. It was my 10th year, 5 years at Howell High School doing it, and it's such a great community event. So every year I say I'm done, but I'm done. No, but every year I say I'm going to do it. But it's just a great thing, and you know, all the entries, all the money goes towards the Crisis Center. So it's a great cause. So, and we run and walk in memory of people who have passed, students who have committed suicide, students who have been sick in the community. So it's a great cause.
Just 1 second, I just want to mention that you did 10 years, and it's wonderful that you've supported this organization, correct?
Yes.
Contact? So it's for crisis intervention, suicide prevention, and first call help, well, mostly volunteers, and it's very emotional because I do know a lot of families.
Yeah, you
but,
did know a lot last night. You know a lot of them, yeah.
But I appreciate you doing this.
Well, staying on that theme of knowing a lot of people and being around for a long time, Mrs. Lavin has been on the school board, on the Freehold Regional School Board for 20 years. So I want to present her. I want to present her with her certificate from the New Jersey School Boards Association.
You don't look a day over 20.
Right, exactly. I really appreciate it. It feels like yesterday, actually. It's gone very quickly, and I've gone through a lot of administrations, teachers, anything you could imagine. But it's been rewarding, and I appreciate it, and I'm happy that my 3 children did go through Freehold Regional School District, and I will miss Dr. Stevenson, and I'm so proud to have Dr. Nicole take his place. Good luck to both of you, and thank you all.
Any other board members have new business?
Yeah, Mr. Bruno, just one thing, just to put on everyone's radar for the end of October, that the New Jersey School Board Association's annual workshop is going to be held Monday, October 23rd through Wednesday, October 25th. And I would encourage everybody here on the board and the administration that if you can, come down to Atlantic City for the workshop this year. And look forward to seeing you guys there. So just make sure that, you know, maybe in the next few weeks we can reach out to, you know, central admin so that they can get everything booked.
Oh, Christine already has it ready to go.
Okay.
I'm surprised she hasn't sent it out.
Awesome. All right, thank you.
Okay. May I have a motion to...
I make a motion to adjourn.
She's got a mask on and everything. She can still do it quickly. Mrs. Lavin, second. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.